from her in the past. You will be hearing from her. Lots of volunteer opportunities, and she's coordinating volunteers for thrift stores and food pantry and events and Clark's Kids and all sorts of things. So Krista Pry, who many of you know, is our council casework manager. So she manages all the casework that's done here at the council office. And Adam Seeley is our director of hunger initiatives. He manages our food pantry here, as well as coordination with all of your food pantries and our food partners like Food Bank and Kroger and Publix and sorts of other wonderful organizations. And we'll hear from Adam and Krista and housing team in a few minutes, and we'll let them introduce themselves when they get started. So let's show you the agenda, if you could, Amanda. So we'll start, of course, with prayer and reflection. I'll give you just some quick updates from my side, but I won't take long, I promise. And then we'll get into talking about some of the housing activities and Motel to Home and LEAP. And we'll give you an update of what's going on here at the Chambly Food Pantry and food programs in general. And then Krista will share some of the resources that are available for our neighbors in need through the council office here. And Leanne from Georgia Credit Union will talk about some of the resources that they have available. And we'll talk about upcoming calendar items and then open Q&A. So appreciate you joining us, and let's start as we always do with prayer. I'd like to first remember a few folks in prayer today. We lost a long-term, wonderful Vincentian from District 1 this week. Larry Sigurdsson passed away, so we keep him in our prayers and pray for his soul and for his family, Janice, whole family, and their conference. Keep them in our prayers. We have a couple of employees here at the council office and a former employee who are struggling with some serious health issues, cancer issues, and we keep them in our prayers. And we also have a Vincentian leader who has a family crisis, and I won't mention the person of the crisis, but ask you to pray for a special intention for one of the Vincentian leaders. Amanda, if you can, the next page. Let's pray in the name of the Father, and Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving Creator, we ask for the insight to understand the needs of people we meet today. We might grasp the complexity of the situations that face us and the absolute demands of human need. God, enable each of us to risk being in solidarity with our brothers and sisters, be contagious in our love for all as we transmit the spirit of St. Vincent de Paul and Blessed Frederick Ozanam. Do not allow our fear, ignorance, or pride to limit the action of your spirit, or allow our selfishness to prevent the divine creativity within us from bearing fruit. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. If you recognize that prayer, you may have been Ozanam orientation lately. That's the prayer that we use at the start of Ozanam orientation. I had the chance to participate in the Ozanam orientation in District 1 last weekend with Jennifer Maxwell, her final Ozanam orientation as a staff member. And I love that prayer, so use that. Let's start with a brief spiritual reflection. I won't take too much time, but this is a wonderful reflection that was taken from the Contemplations. If you don't subscribe to Tim Williams' weekly Contemplations that come from the national office, I would encourage you to, because they're really beautiful and very Vincentian. And this is adapted, shortened version of one of his contemplations on the essential element of friendship, which is, of course, one of the three essential elements that hallmarks of the society. So just read this, you can read along. Frederick Ozanam once explained, friendships can be strengthened by both words and actions. Words, by letters or emails, allow us to share our thoughts and share ourselves with each other, even when we are far apart from our friends. But he went on, there are bonds stronger still than words, actions. Nothing can draw friends closer than to eat together, travel together, or work together. But if purely human acts have this power, moral acts have it even more. And if two or three come together to do good, their union will be perfect. It's from a letter he wrote in 1837. This is the special character of friendship that we form in the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, a friendship that we call an essential element of the society, a friendship that is strengthened by the other two essential elements, spirituality and service. After all, what better moral acts could we perform together than to serve Christ and the poor and to seek holiness together? Indeed, we're called very specifically to share our service, to visit the poor in pairs. We cannot truly understand or live our Vincentian friendship apart from service and spirituality. These are the friends with whom we have walked together, seeking and finding Jesus Christ, sitting with him, listening to him, praying with him, working to ease his burdens. So we won't discuss it here, but I'll ask you to go forward the rest of the day and contemplate in what ways have I seen my Vincentian service strengthen my friendships with fellow members and neighbors that you serve. So I thought that was a beautiful reflection. And Amanda, if you could stop sharing for a moment, just cancel sharing, because I'll just give some updates from my side. But I used that reflection this morning because I want us to continually focus on these three essential elements, as we talked about Spring to Life for those of you that were there. But in particular for me, I just came back earlier this month from Invitation for Renewal. If you haven't done that, some of you may have participated over the years. It's a 5-day retreat program, Vincentian retreat program run by the National Council at a facility outside St. Louis. And it's a wonderful opportunity to gather with Vincentians from around the country and really root ourselves in the essential elements of spirituality, friendship, and service, the history of the society, the mission of the society. It's just a wonderful, in the essential virtues of the society: simplicity, humility, gentleness, mortification, and zeal. So if you know those five already, give yourself extra points, extra credit. But it was a great opportunity for me. I've been involved for such a long time, but a lot of the material wasn't new to me, but just a chance to be reminded and renewed, talking about those things. It was a nice refocus for me on essential virtues and the essential elements. It was also a great reminder. Some of you have heard me talk in the past when I go to these national meetings. I come back sort of rejuvenated and reminded that we're part of something much bigger. We're part of this national and ultimately global network of charity, whatever goes on, envisioned and actually brought to reality. And so it's wonderful to be with Vincentians from around the country, Vincentians from California and Indiana and Missouri and Florida and New Jersey and Atlanta. And it was great to be with a broad group of Vincentians and share our Vincentian charism. It was also a reminder that we're part of a even bigger group, which is the Vincentian family. And for those of you who aren't familiar, the Vincentian family extends beyond the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. It includes all of the organizations around the world that are inspired by St. Vincent de Paul and St. Louis de Marillac, including the Congregation of the Mission, Vincentian priests. We had a Vincentian priest with us at the retreat, and the Daughters of Charity, the religious order for women that was founded by Vincent and Louise, and we had a couple of Daughters of Charity with us. So a great reminder we're part of something much bigger. Along those lines, I want to remind all of you, if you're not aware, that the National Assembly is coming up in early September in St. Louis. It's an opportunity for, again, Vincentians from across the country to come together and in fellowship, in service, learning how to better do what we do. Lots of great workshops, a recommitment mass at the cathedral, where the society was first started in the United States in 1845. Last year, there were about 800 Vincentians from around the country. Expecting that kind of gathering this year. It's in St. Louis, and most of the people that go are Vincentians in leadership positions, but it's open to anyone. And it's absolutely appropriate and okay for conferences and districts to utilize funds for sending people to national assemblies or regional assemblies as part of further formation, and with the hope that they would come back and share with their conference or their district what they learned through celebrations, the gatherings, the friendship, the workshops. So we'd love to have more folks from Georgia attend. We have several people from the council office attending, but again, I would encourage you to talk with your conference or district presidents and see about attending if that's something that would inspire you and motivate you. It's a great opportunity. And again, I always come back refreshed by the creativity of Society of St. Vincent de Paul around the country, and the wonderful things that Vincentians are doing in every pocket of the country. It's very rewarding. Just a couple quick organization updates, and then we'll move to the meat of the program, and you can hear from the rest of the team. As you hopefully know from my message earlier this week, Jennifer Maxwell accepted an exciting opportunity with another organization. Actually, she went back to an organization she worked for many years ago in a much broader role. It's a great opportunity for her. Her last day was yesterday, and we will certainly miss her. She still has access for a few more days to her email, so I would encourage you to reach out and congratulate her and wish her well if you haven't already. But I know she's going to go on to do great things, and we're currently organizing how we pick up those activities in the meantime. But always feel free to reach out to me directly if there was something that you would contact Jen about. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is first initial, last name, SVdPgeorgia.org. And happy to step in and help until we get that position filled. We have filled a couple other key positions. Our grants manager, Renee Basil, started this month. She's going to do great things for us. Elizabeth Sirk, who was our development officer, you may know, left us also for another opportunity with another organization last month, and close to recruiting her replacement, so stay tuned for that announcement. I mentioned Megan King recently joining us as our community outreach manager, so glad to have that position filled because we've had sort of a gap in that volunteer management for the last 6 months or so. And our communications position, which has been vacant for ever, it seems, will be filled in early August. We'll announce it formally later, but Brian Dudling recently worked with the Archdiocese of Atlanta and has a long career in marketing and communications. We'll be taking on that. We're excited to have Brian in that position. So lots of good things happening here in terms of staffing. I'm excited to introduce some of these other folks to you coming weeks and months. So with that, Amanda, you can go back to the slideshow, which I think was just an introductory slide for Mariel's team, and turn it over to Mariel and let her introduce Heidi and Oriel.
Okay, great. Can you all hear me okay? Great. I'm on 2 systems right now. So I think you all know me. I'm Mariel Risner-Sivley. It's my pleasure to be the Director of Housing here and to introduce you to a new team member and also to get an update from Heidi about our Motel to Home program. So first, let's go through Motel to Home updates and information. So I'm going to pass over to Heidi Evely.
Thank you. Thanks, Mariel. Good morning, everyone. I think most of you are aware of our program, at least I hope you are. But you know, as our funding grows, so does our program. So there are some changes, some updates that I want to sort of go over. I'm going to give you a basic overview again of what we do and who we work with. We primarily work with families who have income for rent. So these are families that have lost their housing and have ended up living in hotels. They must have enough income to sustain rent. Landlords typically like to see 3 times income to rent. So if we're looking at a $1,200 a month apartment, they would need about $3,600 in income. The program can help with the deposits and the first month's rent up to about $2,500 when they find housing to move into. At the moment, we do not have our own housing, so clients do have to source and look for their own housing, but we can certainly help guide them. We work with Open Doors and we can do referrals with them. They're an organization that can target places that the family would probably be approved for. They have relationships with these complexes, so we can kind of target income, credit score, and hopefully guide them in that way. We also have numerous families that we've housed, and we sort of have a list of places that are a little more friendly to our families, so we can guide them in that direction as well. Once housed, our families are in our program for 1 year, and they will be getting caseworker check-ins. We can do furniture referrals through Fully Furnished. So once they move in, we can assist with basic furniture. It's free to them. It's delivered to them. It's basic needs, beds, sofas, tables, that sort of thing. We can also help with other referrals and resources as needed. If income needs to be a little more, we can try and guide them in that direction. We do quarterly workshops, so they will meet every 3 months, and we run budgeting classes and wellness workshops. It's also a wonderful time for these families to get together. It's really important for them to understand they're part of a community and they're not just out there on their own. They are not the only people that have been living in hotels and now have found housing. So it's a great support for them. We also do periodic giveaways. We are working on move-in baskets for some of our new move-ins. We are about to give away 78 backpacks that we have ready for our children of our families. So we really try and stay involved with these folks for the year. Our goal is long-term stable housing. It isn't just moving in. We want to keep them housed. So however that works, and I know some of you caseworkers have probably heard from me before about clients that did need assistance, and we do try and partner up with conferences as best we can where these families are located. We always find partnership works best. You know, we're a small but mighty team, so the more people we can get involved with these families, the more successful they're going to be in the program and stay housed. So as our funding grows, so does our program, and our criteria does change a little bit. So at the moment, our current qualifications are, this doesn't change. You must have been in a hotel for 30 days. So this does not need to be consecutive days. These families within the last several months, we find they can afford the hotel for 3 weeks. Then they're either in their car or they're with a friend for a couple weeks. They're back in the hotel. As long as we can make 30 days of receipts happen in a several month period, we will qualify them. They must have enough income to afford rent. That is the families that we work with. I know you all come across a lot of families in these hotels that barely have enough money. They must have enough money for rent. We just don't have, really, frankly, the staff to kind of get them to that point. So I would encourage you, as you see these families in your conferences that are really struggling, help them increase their income, give them resources that can potentially help, and then send them to us and we will take them from there. At the moment, majority of our funding is they must have a child under 18 in the household. We do currently have a very small pool of funding that we can assist singles, individuals, or couples who do not have children. Again, it's not a big number, so it's going to go quickly. But if you do see anyone single or a married couple or even a senior who is in a hotel and just needs that help with the deposit move-in fees, send them to our direction, and we will certainly work with them while we have this funding. Caseworkers can email me at the m2h@svdbgeorgia.org. We are on the website under what we do, housing, motel to home. We have a web page that kind of explains the criteria. The application is on there. You don't need to fill any application out, the client does. So you just send them in that direction. If you like, you can shoot me an email, let me know that you're working with this family, they've applied. We'll make sure that, we get a lot of applications, so we'll make sure that we look for that name, pull it, and contact them as soon as we're able to. We always encourage, as I said, caseworkers to stay involved with the families, especially the ones you refer. The more support they have, the more successful these families will be. So that's kind of an update on the program. I'm not sure if I'm taking questions now or at the end. I will defer to Mike on that, but I'm happy to answer anything. Please call me if you need to. My cell number, I will give it to you now. It's 678-488-7241. And you can certainly email me at the m2h@svdbgeorgia.org. And I will get back to you. I usually the same day. I like to return emails as quick as possible. So feel free to reach out. Any questions, any assistance I can give you with some of these families you're working with, please reach out to me.
Thank you, Heidi. Let's have questions at the end. Get Q&A.
Okay.
And if you could, though, drop in the chat your phone number.
I sure will. I'll put the email and my phone number in there.
Great. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Heidi. And thank you. Mike, I'm going to brag on Heidi for a minute that one of our funders actually changed their policy based on best practices that Heidi had been creating for this program, and decided that all of the grants that this funder is giving out need to start using Heidi's best practices. So that is a huge testament to everything that she's doing in her leadership. So kudos to
Heidi. I should also mention, for those of you who don't know, Heidi's been involved in this program from pilot from the very beginning. So she's got four or 5 years worth of experience doing this now. So wonderful.
Yes, thank you. We are so grateful to you, Heidi. And next, it's my pleasure to introduce you to someone new to you. We have had a real coup with Ariel Towner being able to join us to assist with our LEAP program. So as you all recall, the LEAP program is a pilot program. It's the Landlord Engagement and Advancement Program. And it is in its formation stage. So it didn't come out perfectly. We're working on it and making it better. And Ariel is a huge part in the progress of this program. And so I'm going to pass over to her to share with you what exactly LEAP is, what it's doing, and how you can help.
Thanks, Marielle. Hi, everyone. My name is Ariel, and I am the program manager for the Landlord Engagement Advancement Program, which we are calling LEAP. As Marielle mentioned, it's a newer program. So for those of you who may not be familiar, LEAP was created to reduce the amount of time families have to go without housing. So by having landlords add their properties into our network, we're able to create an inventory of rental housing that this set of landlords understands our mission and agrees to accept renters who have lower credit scores or evictions on their history and who might effectively otherwise not be able to have an opportunity to get an apartment. So by participating in this program, the landlords and families receive support to keep the family stably housed. And right now we're doing that in a couple of ways. First, we're giving landlords access to our landlord contingency fund, where they can file claims up to a certain amount on things such as damage, unpaid rent, and a host of other things. And then secondly, we're matching each family with, in our program, with a caseworker who will provide case management support for the first 12 months of their time living in the property. And so our caseworkers will be supporting them in getting the appropriate documentation to help them sign their lease agreement, making sure they get moved in, and then serving as a liaison between the landlord and the family if any issues arise as they're living in the property. So overall, the goal of this program is to get families housed who might not otherwise have the opportunity, and to build strong supports to make sure that we're creating all the opportunities to keep them stably housed. And so with that, we have a couple of asks for you. First, right now, we are still looking for landlords who believe in our mission and believe that housing should be accessible to everyone. So if you know of any landlords across Georgia who might have properties that are in good condition and are either available now or in the coming months, please refer them to us. It can be an individual landlord who has one single property, or it could be an entire property management company that has multiple properties under their umbrella. But we are just mostly looking for properties that have a good reputation, that are safe, that are quality for our families. And if you do know someone or have someone in mind, you could submit a referral by emailing leap@svdpgeorgia.org. I'll place it in the chat after I finish talking. And then secondly, our second ask for you is that once we have properties in our network and we have families that we want to match with those properties, we want to make sure that we have each and every property inspected to ensure that they are safe and in good condition. And so previously we had mentioned to you all that we perhaps wanted your support in the case management realm of things, but we've actually shifted and adjusted the program, and where we actually would love your support is going out and inspecting these properties for and with us. There's only 2 of us right now, and so the more eyes and ears we can have going out to look at these properties will be really, really helpful. So there's not an action for you today. This is mostly just to give you a heads up that we have changed our original ask for you, and that this will be an ask that will be coming soon. If you have, we have a property checklist inspection, so it's really easy to go out to the properties and do the inspection. But if and when the time comes that we are reaching out to you as we identify properties within your conference, we will, if you want the training, you can reach out to us and we're happy to provide it. But again, right now, our priority is really focused on finding landlords with properties that we can start matching our families with. So I will post my email address in the chat, but really excited to be working with all of you.
Thank you so much. And when you said it, I put it in the chat for you. So your email is there. And so also in the chat, there's information that Heidi provided that the program is statewide now, which is very exciting, the Motel to Home program. And with that, we have a waiting list of families in motels who do not have a home to move into, who are looking for a mission-aligned landlord to give them one of these lower barrier units that Ariel just spoke of. So we absolutely need you to contact Ariel at that email address when you speak with someone you know who has a rental unit, who wants to work with us, because we have great families that Heidi and her team are working with that deserve a place to be. And that's the genesis of the LEAP program. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass back to you, Mike.
Thank you, Mariel. I would just add that the LEAP program, landlord engagement, is one of those things that I learned about traveling to national meetings and hearing success in other parts of the country. So there is a knowledge base that we can build from, and in some areas it's been really, really successful. And they've built up one area of Texas, 90 landlords that are participating in this program. So I would encourage you, as Ariel did, to reach out to anybody who has rental properties and see if they are interested in helping us in our mission. We understand they want to earn a profit on their rental property, and that's wonderful. But if they're can be flexible and work with our neighbors, we're assisting, help us in our mission. There are a lot of folks that are aligned with our mission that would be willing to do that. So don't be shy about asking. Thank you to the housing team, and now we'll turn it over to Adam Seeley to talk about what's been going on here in our food program since he joined in March.
All right, you can go next.
Amanda's control.
Oh, man, yeah, we've been very fortunate here in our Chamblee Food Pantry to see remarkable growth over this year. we just from January through June, we have gone from just over 20,000 pounds of distributed food to 60. I believe this June we did about 66,000 pounds of food distributed to households. Our pantry is a low barrier pantry, so there's no need for income verification or residential information. In fact, we do not have a zip code restriction. So if you have a family that in your conference that does not have a food pantry nearby, you are welcome to send them to us. We're seeing relatively, I think, averaging about 50 households a day right now. So we're very excited about the direction that that's all going. And we can go to the next slide, Amanda. Yeah, and our hours are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, with the also serving on the first, second, and third Saturdays of the month by appointment. So you can schedule appointments for those days through our website. So please feel free to do that. As you can see, we've seen a remarkable growth just in the not only the number of households, but the size of households coming in. This summer has been usually we see a lot of growth in households that need food for families with children. So you can see in the it's in the gray bar our growth in families with children, especially over this summer. Kids are out of school, so a lot more food is needed in households for those kids. So we did increase our purchasing of snack food items and such to alleviate that need. So yeah, we can put our my email address in the chat at some point, if we wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, just to clarify, you mentioned the hours, it's Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 without appointments.
Yes.
If you want client to come on one of those first 3 Saturdays, there you need to schedule an appointment because those are supported by conference volunteers. And we can put in the chat the link for that scheduling site.
Yeah, that'd be great. We're very thankful to St. Thomas More, Christ the King, and IHM for their services on operating our Saturday food pantry. We're also excited that our teaching kitchen has been growing. Our Cooking Matters courses is continuously serving veterans. And we will have our next cohort beginning next Tuesday. But we are also expanding with the Cooking Matters courses for Spanish-speaking postpartum mothers in partnership with Open Hand Atlanta and Grady Healthcare. So we are really excited about doing that. And those classes will begin in August. So we are very thankful that that opportunity was available to us. And also our brand new partnership with Hope Atlanta and Publix, which we have just signed an agreement. They'll be sharing 80 pallets of non-perishable food, and we will be distributing roughly 3,000 food boxes for veterans over the next 6 months, as well as incorporating some of that food into our food pantries. So any opportunities for sharing that food, we'll make sure that we get that out to you as we come across that. So yeah, that's all I get for right now. So
Okay. We should also add, for those of you that have food pantries in your conferences or are interested in starting food pantries in your conferences, that Adam is a resource for you. We've now worked out with the Atlanta Community Food Bank the ability for us to distribute food from here to conferences, which previously we were allowed to do. Of course, we still have the produce and meat that can be distributed to conferences as well. So if you haven't been in touch with Adam on the needs of your pantry or an interest in opening one, please feel free to reach out to him.
And I love making visits, so happy to come out and see your space, see what you're all doing.
All right, thank you, Amanda. You can go to the next slide, and I'd like to reintroduce Krista Fry, who's our council casework manager here, and has been a long time in Ascension of St. Andrew, Roswell. Krista?
Thanks. So for what does this mean for you all? We do some casework here for neighbors in need, walk in our doors. However, if they have been seen by you, you can go ahead and still refer them down, of course, for the food pantry at any point, and also for some of the other things that we do provide. You know, so for every day, we have somebody here that can do SNAP referrals or SNAP applications.
Amanda, can you go to the next slide, please?
So she can help with SNAP applications as food stamps, Medicaid, WIC, women and infants and children, CAPS, which is for childcare, free childcare services, and TANF, which is temporary assistance for needy families. So all of those services, you know, for government, you can either sign up new or renew as well. So I know we're coming up on the renewal for a lot of folks, and we can certainly help with that as well. So we do have somebody here in the office that can either help either by phone or in person. So if you want to send your folks down, they just can't, they just need somebody to sit in front of them and help them with that application. We can certainly do that. You can do it either one of two ways. You can either email us a referral. We have a benefits at svdpgeorgia.org, which is an email specifically for those services. Comes directly to our SNAP team, or through our member site. We do have on the member page on our website, we do have a referral as well that you can just fill out as the case manager or caseworkers and send that through, and that'll come right into them, and they can call up your clients or neighbors in need and do that by phone. Okay. And we also have bilingual as well, so feel free to send anybody who is Spanish speaking. We can certainly assist them as well. And if they do qualify for some of these government services, they are eligible for a free government phone. And I don't know about you, but when I went out to kind of help somebody earlier on, it was very, very confusing because they have all kinds of websites that say, you know, sign up here, sign up here, sign up here, and which one is legit? So we are fortunate enough to have a independent contractor that comes in. She comes in on Tuesdays and Thursdays here at this office here in Chamblee. And she'll sit usually out in the front, or in my area in front of the food pantry. And she will sign up people for the free government phone. So she can handle it for them. All they need to do is bring in an ID, and she can look up and make sure that they do qualify. That is one of the requirements, is that they do qualify for one of these government services. And then she can go ahead and get their phone for them. And that's something that if they didn't know about, many people don't know that they are eligible for that. And it certainly does help. So.
Can that be done remotely, or do they have to come in person?
She can do it remotely if she's working with a caseworker. She does need to see ID. She does need to verify that they do receive these services. And then there's also, she needs to be able to get the phone to them. So that might be something, you know, that can be done remotely. So if they're in a different part of the state, we can do that. She would just probably need to coordinate with a caseworker a little bit more to make sure that they can get that. And so also we have similar services in medical. We have diabetes and blood pressure screenings and education, which we just started providing here with the Diabetes You Can Win Foundation. And they will be coming in on, I believe Mondays is what they've chosen. They've come in, you know, to kind of give us kind of a preview of their services. And while they were here for maybe an hour, they were able to identify at least 5 people that had high blood pressure that needed to be on medications, and some more that needed diabetes medications as well. So they really had a lot of people that were waiting to see them. So that is a fantastic opportunity for those. These are free services. They provide these all free of charge. These are licensed nurses. They are volunteers with this Diabetes You Can Win Foundation. It is CDC approved curriculum and lifestyle coaching to provide diabetes education, health education. They also tap into WIC services, you know, what kind of new moms, education, healthy lifestyles, nutrition, things like that. As well as nutrition for diabetes and high blood pressure. They also work with DeKalb Board of Health, and also they do some health fairs with the neighborhood cooperative ministries, I believe in Norcross. So they do that regularly as well. And we also have some legal services that we can provide here as well. These folks will be coming in on Tuesdays, not every Tuesday, but every other Tuesday. And it's provided through the Hines Law Firm. They typically work with accidents, workers' comp, criminal cases. They can handle felonies, things like that, traffic, DUIs. They do speak Spanish. So feel free to send anybody who's that those services. They do not handle immigration or landlord issues. We are working with some other folks that perhaps we'll bring on, so stay tuned for that. But this firm does not do that. And we also have some medical referrals that can be made. These folks come in on Wednesdays. It is the Fulton DeKalb Hospital Authority. They also govern Grady Hospital. They work also with Mercy Care, and they also speak Spanish. So they can, and they work with the undocumented as well. So these people provide referrals to low and reduced cost or free healthcare services throughout mostly Fulton DeKalb, but they can do it for the rest of the state as well. And these are specifically for those who are low income or uninsured. Okay, so they can provide healthcare as well. So don't be afraid to send them our way. We also have workforce referrals that we can make. We're working with Goodwill Career Services to provide job help and trainings. We do have a job fair coming up on Wednesday of next week, Wednesday the 26th. It is going to be held here at the council office. And so please get the word out, send your folks down. We will have employers like Waffle House, we have Home Healthcare Company, we have Georgia Department of Corrections, some warehouse opportunities, and then also the folks who are from Goodwill Career Services will be on hand to for their stores, graduation centers, and also for Walmart as well. And also anybody who has any questions for them, such as their training programs, they offer some great training programs. And I know we've had them here before to go over those. We may have them again to discuss that. But right now, go ahead and send your folks over on the 26th to our job fair, and it hopefully is the first of many. We also have
actually, I know that job fair just got finalized yesterday, but we need to send out an email to
I'll put that out to you as
all
well.
the conferences so they know the details of who's coming.
Yes. Okay, and then so a couple more services that we are providing when people come in. I know you all can do this as well, but we do provide pharmacy referrals on our website. So we have a computer that we set aside. So anybody who comes in and they say we'd like to get pharmacy referrals, and you all can go out to our Denver website webpage and do that referral as well. Our caseworkers here Monday through Friday can assist with that as well. We can put those in if you just have somebody who just needs that and they're not really one of the people that you're working with. We also have the motel to home application up. So anybody who comes in and needs to do that as well, we have that up on our computers. We can send it right in and do it themselves. We have a couple of banking services as well. We have PNC Bank that comes out on Mondays with their PNC Bank truck. We also have Beal Bank. We have some representatives that come in. They actually do casework for us. But if anybody has any questions, they are a non-traditional bank that specializes in savings and investments. And then we also have Georgia Credit Union, Georgia United Credit Union, I'm sorry. And I would like to go ahead and introduce you to our next guest.
Yeah, before you do, just a comment on some of these services are physically here, like the PNC Bank mobile truck and things like that. Some of them are available virtually. So if you have any questions about, I know many of you are in outline conferences. It's not convenient to send neighbors here. If you've got questions about what can be done, each of these services can be provided remotely. Feel free to email Krista and ask Amanda to drop her email address into the chat box. Thank you, Krista. And I will introduce Lee Gant, who known for quite a while, who's with Georgia United Credit Union, which originated as the diocesan or the Catholic Parishes Credit Union, now open to much broader population, and they can explain some of the services that they offer for some of our neighbors in need. Lee?
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So happy to be with you this morning to share some of the resources available to you and the neighbors that you work with through Georgia United Credit Union, as well as any other credit union. The most important thing, and I know I've seen some of you, I saw Bernie, hi Bernie. I've talked to some of your councils, some of your conferences and shared credit union benefits. The main difference between credit unions and banks is that credit unions are not for profit. So you will find that their focus is on helping people. Not every credit union is the same, and I'm pleased that I've spent 18 years with Georgia United Credit Union because of our affiliation with the Archdiocese of Atlanta. I myself am a parishioner at St. John Newman. And the credit union mission is very similar to the mission of the Catholic Church and of St. Vincent de Paul. We really are focusing on elevating and transforming people's lives. We are, what I say is that we're a non-judgment area. When we've got that credit report, we're opening an account. That's where we see job loss, medical issues, divorce. And what we do is just try and take people where they are and help them get to where they want to be. And it's very gratifying to have a mission in what we do, and that is to positively impact lives. And we all know that people are having trouble affording things these days. So the first thing I was going to share with you is, well, there's two different kinds of things I wanted to share with you. One is resources available to you and to everybody, the general population. And that includes our on-demand financial webinars. These are found on our website at gucu.org. That's like Georgia United Credit Union.org under Learn. There are a series of articles that you can look at as well, but I usually filter by videos, and all of these videos are up there. So they've been recorded, and these are available, as I say, to anybody. I have had some companies that we work with preview the videos and put together sort of a scavenger hunt, so they can offer an incentive. Like, hey, if you watch these 3 videos, answer these questions, maybe you go into a drawing or something. Sometimes people do need motivation to go to them, but these are available to anyone. And the flyers, I've left some of the flyers at the council office, but also this digital flyer that I can send you does have links. So on the flyer, each of the names is actually a link to those. And as I mentioned, that's available, to anyone. Of course, I'm happy to come out to visit your conferences, to let your caseworkers know, what's available and how people's lives can be improved. For instance, the example of a car loan at 14% versus 4%, it saves you almost $6,000 in interest on a 4-year loan at $20,000. Of a loan. So just giving examples on things that we can do as far as helping people cut down on costs, providing free checking services, no ATM charges, and refinancing automobiles and that kind of thing. So the on-demand seminars are there. The longest one is 18 minutes. That's Car Buying 101. And we worked really hard putting that together. And honestly, it really, really does protect people when they are in the market looking at a vehicle. So the next thing we have is a unique URL that is to financial education available through EverFi. It's mobile friendly. It's in English and Spanish. It's got short topics and playlists. So you use your phone, you answer a few questions, and it takes you into a learning path, based on what you're interested in. We can collect data in it. For instance, we can say, hey, most of the people there are wanting to know about home ownership, that kind of thing. But the whole playlist is what we call anonymous. So, with the comfort of people's homes, they can ask questions about things like, how do I manage my debt? How do I pay off these debts? So that is available to everyone. And this is a link that we provided because of the affiliation with the Archdiocese of Atlanta. But you are free to share this with your clients and all your caseworkers. And I particularly am excited that it's available in Spanish. I signed up in English, so I'm not sure. I've got to go back and find out exactly how you do that in Spanish. But a couple of the great things are they're doing the translation for us, and also they're keeping up with compliance. EverFi is keeping up with compliance, changing regulations, and that kind of thing. So that's the other thing. And then for you all, I want you to know, can we go to the county slide? Yeah, this one. So all credit unions are not for profit. And so we have membership restrictions, but we can provide services throughout most of the state because Georgia United has community charters. So we are available in about 60 counties in the state of Georgia, and they're all here. So anyone who lives or works in these counties can join Georgia United Credit Union. Even if we don't have a branch, we've got the digital services. You can take a picture of a check. Like I said, no ATM fees. So just want you to know that if you are working with clients who are underbanked or paying huge bank fees, or my concern about our Spanish-speaking community is that they may carry too much cash on their person for their own safety, and really better to get them into a bank. So here's all the counties that we're available in. I will note for you that on occasions, account applications may be declined due to information from credit reporting agencies such as TransUnion or Check Systems. Possible reason might be a number of outstanding collections or bank charge-offs over 300 in the last 3 years. But when this happens, we provide the applicant with an adverse action notice and an explanation of the decision to decline and contact information for the reporting agency. Again, regarding the financial education, you do not have to be a member to take advantage of all the financial education that's available, but on occasion, we're not able to bank someone. And then finally, the partner incentives. These are available for all employees of St. Vincent de Paul and caseworkers. Anybody that's affiliated with St. Vincent de Paul. Oh, do you want to go back to the county slide? Somebody's looking for the counties. And I can also share that with you, electronically. There should be about 60 of them there. And so that's
we'll share the slides after.
Sounds great. And then for that financial incentives for partners, this is important. All of you affiliated with St. Vincent de Paul, because of your affiliation with the Archdiocese of Atlanta, can have access to Georgia United Credit Union. And this is a direct connection through the Archdiocese. So you're not like someone walking in off of the county. You're somebody who's affiliated with St. Vincent de Paul through the Archdiocese. So if you join through that, basically, if you join online, your eligibility is Archdiocese of Atlanta. Not Catholic community, that's for parishioners, but Archdiocese of Atlanta, that's all you caseworkers, all you St. Vincent de Paul employees. There are financial incentives. For instance, if you open a checking account with direct deposit and a debit card, $100 goes into your savings. If you get a credit card, $100 goes in your savings. And the credit cards are at $199 for 12 billing cycles, and there's no balance transfer fees. This is important because if your clients get to the point where you want them, they can start with a secured credit card, because we do that. We also have the capability of transferring high interest debt to this 199 with no balance transfer fees for people that can qualify for that. That could be a big help because credit cards for shopping, Kohl's, Old Navy and all that, there's in the 20%, 27%. So again, we were just trying to help people afford lives and provide them some positive impact. So regarding the incentives, as I say, you just take the drop down to Archdiocese of Atlanta if you care to join. But we're open to all Catholics, but this is particularly for people that are affiliated and working or volunteering for St. Vincent de Paul. I think that's wraps up the Georgia United resources available. Education, tools, and resources, just trying to make a difference and help people, and that's what we do every day.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. Great partner. And we can circulate that Georgia United information to these attendees, and it's got Lee's contact information if you have questions. And lastly, before we get to Q&A, just some upcoming events to remind everybody about or make you aware of if you're unfamiliar. We have Mariel's organizing a housing Zoom on August 3rd with veterans resources, resource for neighbors in need that are veterans. We have Treasurer's Handbook training coming up August 17th for new treasurers or refresher for treasurers. It's also good for conference presidents to understand the treasurer's handbook requirements. John Pepe is doing an annual report training in early September for everybody to prepare for submitting annual reports at the end of the year. We have Ozarm orientation on the feast day of Frederick Ozarm, September 9th in District 9. So all those details will be in the society page next week, as well as an invitation to lead, which is for people considering becoming a president, VP, or secretary in your conference, if you've recently taken that role and haven't gone through training. Some community events, Camp Veterans Resource Fair, August 4th and 5th. I don't know, Mariel, do you know about that one, or who can chime in on that? Or
I
maybe
think
not.
that's going to be a really big event. It's for neighbors to attend directly if they're veterans, and there will be resource providers there. Everything, I believe, from haircuts to healthcare. So we can provide some follow-up information about the details of where it is in DeKalb and the time frame.
Yeah, so if you have neighbors that you're serving that are veterans in the area, please refer them to those resource fairs. And just a reminder, our TF for Hope golf tournament is September 25th at the Standard Club in Johns Creek, our 14th annual, I believe. Love to have your conferences represented with foursome or individual golfers. If you know anybody who could be a potential sponsor, we're looking for sponsorships. And I'm sure Megan would love to have more volunteers to help out that day. So feel free to contact Megan M. King, SVdP Georgia. And lastly, we're having our first annual block party, which is just a community celebration event here at Chamblee. It's going to be games, free food, music, open house, just a thank you to Vincentians and an awareness to our neighbors and community partners. So I hope you can join us for that. Anything I missed, Krista? Events? You mentioned the Goodwill Job Fair, which is not on here, which has just been scheduled for next week. Some information on that. Great, we can cancel screen share, Amanda, and open it up for questions. And I don't know if anybody's been monitoring the chat and any questions that haven't been answered that we can answer. Happy to do that.
I forgot to tell you guys some exciting news. Georgia United is opening a branch in Chamblee, of all places.
Wonderful.
That's where I started my banking career in 1984 in my Atlanta banking career at Decatur Federal Savings and Loan in Chamblee. So that's old home place. They've already hired the manager. I don't know when the doors are opening or where it is, but I'm excited that it's coming close to the conference for sure.
Great, thank you for sharing that. Somebody was asking about Motel to Home. It is now expanded statewide thanks to our funding partners at Quick Trip. It's available for anybody in the state of Georgia. Motel the home is one requirement, 3 times income. Heidi, it looks like you've answered that. We try to keep our neighbors at under 40% rent to income ratio to ensure their success going forward. Questions? Sherry asked, are there companies that you work with that could also help in other areas to get food? You mean other geographical areas, Sherry?
Sorry. The north west part of the state. Could
Adam, are you familiar with
could you-
food resources and
In the northwest part of the state, I'm not terribly familiar with, but we can start looking into that. I know some people to ask. Sherry, if you my email's on there, if you can email me directly so I can email you back with that answer. We can get information as soon as possible.
Glad to see Publix now. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, where's the funding for the Shanley food pantry purchases? Some of the purchases are funded by Christ the King Parish. I'm very grateful for that. A lot of the food, all the food recovery program food is free. All the produce, meat, you get free from Kroger, Publix, and Sam's. We buy food from the food bank, which is a relatively small amount. It comes out of our general operating fund. Does not come from solidarity funds. And then we occasionally purchase food from Aldi's with Christ the King money, and some of our operating funds does not come from solidarity funds. How can we roll in Spanish-speaking neighbors in the teaching kitchen in August, Adam?
Currently, all the clients in that particular cohort will be signing up through Grady Health. So I believe Grady Health has a group of clients already, but we are looking at expanding our Spanish-speaking Cooking Matters courses. Hopefully at some point it will probably be next year before we can get that going. But we will hopefully be able to sign up folks through the council's office here. So.
Sherry, your question about Publix, we are working with Publix corporate district, I guess, on this food program with Hope Atlanta. We also work with some individual stores in our food recovery program. Part of the state clients we talked about. Slight echo, sorry, Maura, just seeing that, I'm not sure what that's from. But, the name of the Diabetes Education Organization is
Diabetes You Can Win Foundation.
Diabetes You Can Win Foundation.
Yes, it's a nonprofit, and yes, I'd be happy to send them your way. She would love to come up. Right, her would love to see you.
If you could put that in the chat, I would appreciate it. The name.
The Diabetes You Can Win Foundation, and if you want to send me an email, I'll go ahead and make a connection with you so that she can connect you to.
Thank you.
What else? Talked about the credit union coverage. I think those are the chat questions. Anybody have any other questions? We have about 5 minutes left before the scheduled time ends.
I have
Questions or
one more
comments?
thing to share, but I think Betty has a question.
What time is the job fair?
10 to 1.
10 to 1, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's Wednesday the 26th.
Yeah.
And it's at your office, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
I have one more thing to put on your radars. So you will receive an email with an invitation to this. Krista and I are planning to host another webinar on a Thursday at lunchtime from 12 to 1 again. Thursday, August 24th. This is going to be a housing webinar. There is a housing voucher that is currently available for people who are homeless or anticipate becoming homeless very soon, imminently homeless, or even recently homeless, which is a more wide definition than I've seen recently for services and resources. It's through the Department of Community Affairs, DCA, and it's for areas of the state that do not have their own COC, continuum of care. It's for the areas of the state that are within what's called the balance of state that DCA runs. So this is going to be for 152 counties in Georgia. And you will get an email, look out for it, inviting you to this webinar about this emergency housing voucher. And we'll provide information about how you can directly refer people to this housing voucher. It's very similar to the vouchers that housing authorities have, where it will pay 30%, or you will pay 30% of the rent, and the rest is subsidized. And it's got the same difficulty that the individual with the voucher has to locate a landlord. It has that same difficult piece of it. But the good news is that this is a voucher that's open and available for folks who are living in these 152 counties. So unlike most of the housing authorities, those waiting lists are generally closed. So look out for that email. Again, it's going to be on Thursday. We're looking at doing it on August 24th from 12 till 1, and it will be recorded. And we'll be able to provide information to you about how you can directly refer your neighbors to DCA for this voucher. It's called the Emergency Housing Voucher. If you want to look it up in the meantime, you can find resources online that talk about it. It's not for emergency situations. It's a process. It's not like emergency shelter. This is a process. It's a long application, and then it's a long process to find a landlord. I see, Pam, you've got a question, but I think you're muted. You're muted. Oh, you're still muted.
Here I am. This housing voucher is like Section 8. Is that what this is like? When you say emergency housing voucher, it's like a Section 8 from a different organization, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
So these 150 counties are probably not metro. They're the ones out, like the ones that are far away from the metro area.
Gwinnett, Cherokee, Forsyth, and Henry are, in my mind, still metro in my mind, but
Yes.
they're within this.
Oh, they're in it. Oh, okay. So Gwinnett
Yeah.
isn't. Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's any county that doesn't have its own continuum of care. So anybody other than Fulton, DeKalb, City of Atlanta.
I guess I don't know what continuum of care means when it comes to DCA. You know what I mean?
It's so broad. It's so many. You know what I'll do? I'll put in the chat who has their own COC.
Okay. Well, I don't care. I mean, Gwinnett, I can use Gwinnett, so it's
You're
okay.
good. Okay.
I don't care about anything else.
You're good. You're in. You're in.
Good. I'm good.
Okay.
And just to jump in, that these families with housing vouchers, they can be helped by Motel to Home, because we work with people with these vouchers all the time. So because landlords still are allowed to require up to 2 months of the regular market rent for these families to move in, even though they're only going to be paying a small portion to move in, they still need those upfront costs. So we help families with housing vouchers as well.
Okay, well, we're got 1 minute left, which is enough time for a closing prayer. So I thank you all for participating, for the great questions and exchange. We'll scroll back through the chat. If we didn't get any questions, we'll follow up with answers. If you found this helpful, I would ask you to refer this link when we send it out to your conferences or to your fellow Vincentians, so that they can view these recordings. All these webinars and town halls are recorded. So there's a a good library of information out there. So thank you very much for that. And let's close in prayer. And again, let's keep our recently departed Vincent, Larry, his soul, in our prayers, and his family, and employees here who are struggling with cancer diagnoses and difficult family issues. Lord Jesus, you who willed to become poor, give us eyes and a heart directed toward the poor. Help us to recognize you in them, in their thirst, their hunger, their loneliness, and their misfortune. Enkindle within our Vincentian family unity, simplicity, humility, and the fire of love that burned in St. Vincent de Paul. Strengthen us so that, faithful to the practice of these virtues, we may contemplate you and serve you in the person of the poor, and may one day be united with you and them in your kingdom. Amen. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank
Bye.
you.